guys, and welcome back to my channel, where today we are gonna get right into it and talk about white privilege. Yeah, it's kind of a topic that goes along with what's happening right now. I tried making a video about what was going down in Minneapolis around George Floyd and all of those things, and I probably filmed that video a good 6-7 times, and just nothing I said really seemed to do the situation justice. And I didn't want to post it because I want other people to talk about it. That didn't come out right. Not that I don't want to talk about it. Like, I feel like it's a very important thing to talk about. It's just I want the right things said by the right people. And you know, I was talking in circles a lot. I had my notes, I had my articles, I had everything like right there so I could reference it when I needed to, and it just didn't come out the way that I wanted it to. Like, it was messy and sloppy and all over the place, and I feel like it doesn't do the Black Lives Matter movement or George Floyd justice. So I'm going to talk about something that I know I can talk about, and that is white privilege. A lot of white people that I know get really uncomfortable when you bring up the topic of white privilege. And I know it can be uncomfortable to talk about because you don't want to feel guilty. Like, a lot of people, specifically white people my age, are like, oh, well, that's different. Like, I've never been racist, I've never hurt anybody, I've never said anything. And white privilege isn't saying necessarily that you're automatically a horrible person. Like, white privilege is just something that occurs when you are white. It doesn't go away if you're a great person. It doesn't get worse if you're a bad person. It isn't a measure of your character, just like the things that happen to African American people isn't a reflection on their character. It's just something that happens because of your skin color, and white privilege is not an attack on white people. Talking about it is not an attack on white people. It's just something that is. It's when people look at you and they don't automatically assume the worst about you just based off of your race. And a lot of people say it doesn't exist, but I guarantee you that the list that I'm about to read to you is going to sound familiar. And believe me, it is quite a list. I believe there's about 40 or 50 bullet points. And that's a lot for it to not be relevant. You know what I'm saying? So I guess I'll get into it. This was posted by my cousin, who is a professor, and he's literally like one of my favorite people. Like, everything that he says is just so eye-opening and powerful and inspiring, and I wanted to share it with you. This list is from Peggy McIntosh's White Privilege and Male Privilege, Personal Account of Coming to See Correspondences Through Work in Women's Studies, from 1988. And bear in mind, this list is a small, compiled list compared to what issues come about with white privilege. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm scrolling down and there are 46 here, and this is just a portion, a small amount. Whew, so buckle up. This is gonna be exhausting, and I can't even imagine being on the other side of things. Like, this is exhausting to read as a white person. I can't even imagine having to live and just be hyper aware of all of these things. Okay, number 1. I can, if I wish, arrange to be in the company of people of my race most of the time. Number 2. I can avoid spending time with people whom I was trained to mistrust and who have learned to mistrust my kind or me. Number 3. If I should need to move, I can be pretty sure of renting or purchasing housing in an area which I can afford and in which I would want to live. Number 4. I can be reasonably sure that my neighbors in such a location will be neutral or pleasant to me. Number 5. I can go shopping alone most of the time, fairly well assured that I will not be followed or harassed by store detectives. Number 6. I can turn on the television or open up the front page of the paper and see people of my race widely and positively represented. Number 7. When I am told about our national heritage or about civilization, I am shown that people of my color made it what it is. Number 8. I can be sure that my children will be given curricular materials that testify to the existence of their race. Number 9. If I want to, I can be pretty sure of finding a publisher for this piece on white privilege. Number 10. I can be fairly sure of having my voice heard in a group in which I am the only member of my race. Number 11. I can be casual about whether or not to listen to another woman's voice in a group in which she is the only member of her race. That's only number 11, by the way. There's more. Number 12. I can go into a bookshop and count on finding the writing of my race represented, into a supermarket and find the staple foods that fit with my cultural traditions, into a hairdresser's shop and find someone who can deal with my hair. Number 13. When I use checks, credit cards, or cash, I can count on my skin color not to work against the appearance that I am financially reliable. Number 14. I could arrange to protect our young children most of the time from people who might not like them. As a parent, that one really struck me in the face. Number 15. I did not have to educate our children to be aware of systematic racism for their own daily physical protection. Number 16. I can be pretty sure that my children's teachers and employers will tolerate them if they fit school and workplace norms. My chief worries about them do not concern others' attitudes towards their race. 17. I can talk with my mouth full and not have people put this down to my color. Number 18. I can swear or dress in secondhand clothes or not answer letters without having people attribute these choices to the bad morals, the poverty, or the illiteracy of my race. Number 19. I can speak in public to a powerful male group without putting my race on trial. Number 20. I can do well in a challenging situation without being called a credit to my race. 21. I am never asked to speak for all the people of my racial group. I'm going to stop right there and comment on that one. That one is true. I've seen a lot of people, especially in recent events, talking about the Black Lives Matter movement and just asking, like, one specific African American person, so what do you guys think? Guys, imagine asking one white person, so what do you guys think? I guarantee you that my views are not going to match up with his views, her views, their view, his view, their view. Like, it's all different. Like, you can't just... It's dumb, guys. I don't know if you know this, but people kind of have different views and opinions on a lot of things. Being of the same race has nothing to do with having the exact same opinions throughout every single category, but, you know, whatever. Boy. Let me catch my breath here. Number 22. I can remain oblivious to the language and customs of persons of color who constitute the world's majority without feeling in my culture any penalty for such oblivion. Number 23. I can criticize our government and talk about how much I fear its policies and behavior without being seen as a cultural outsider. Number 24. I can be reasonably sure that if I ask to talk to the person in charge, I will be facing a person of my race. Number 25. If a traffic cop pulls me over, or if the IRS audits my tax return, I can be sure I haven't been singled out because of my race. Number 26. I can easily buy posters, postcards, picture books, greeting cards, dolls, toys, and children's magazines featuring people of my race. Number 27. I can go home from most meetings or organizations I belong to feeling somewhat tied in rather than isolated, out of place, outnumbered, unheard, held at a distance, or feared. Number 28. I can be pretty sure that an argument with a colleague of another race is more likely to jeopardize her chances for advancement than to jeopardize mine. 29. I can be fairly sure that if I argue for the promotion of a person of another race, or a program centering on race, this is not likely to cost me heavily within my present setting, even if my colleagues disagree with me. Whew. It's exhausting to read, so imagine how exhausting it is to live. Okay. Number 30. If I declare there is a racial issue at hand, or there isn't a racial issue at hand, my race will lend me more credibility for either position than a person of color will have. Number 31. I can choose to ignore developments in minority writing and minority activist programs, or disparage them, or learn from them, but in any case, I can find ways to be more or less protective from negative consequences of any of these choices. Number 32. My culture gives me little fear about ignoring the perspectives and powers of people of other races. Number 33. I am not made acutely aware that my shape, bearing, or body odor will be taken as a reflection on my race. Number 34. I can worry about racism without being seen as self-interested or self-seeking. Number 35. I can take a job with an affirmative action employer without having my coworkers on the job suspect that I got it because of my race. Number 36. If my day, week, or year is going badly, I need not ask of each negative episode or situation whether it has racial overtones. Number 37. I can be pretty sure of finding people who would be willing to talk with me and advise me about my next steps professionally. Number 38. I can think over many options, social, political, imaginative, or professional, without asking whether a person of my race would be accepted or allowed to do what I want to do. Number 39. I can be late to a meeting without having the lateness reflect on my race. These aren't even things that you would think about as a white person. Like, imagine the toll and the trauma that causes people that have to think about every little thing. And, like, just dwell on, okay, how do I look? Do I smell? Am I on time? Like, to white people, that's just like, oh well, like, if I do, I do. Like, they'll understand. Imagine that reflecting negatively on you because of your race and, like damn, dude. Whew. Alright, number 40. I can choose public accommodation without fearing that people of my race cannot get in or will be mistreated in the places I have chosen. Number 41. I can be sure that if I need legal or medical help, my race will not work against me. Number 42. I can arrange my activities so that I will never have to experience feelings of rejection owing to my race. Number 43. If I have low credibility as a leader, I can be sure that my race is not the problem. Number 44. I can easily find academic courses and institutions that give attention only to people of my race. Number 45. I can expect figurative language and imagery in all of the arts to testify to experience of my race. Number 46. I can choose blemish cover or bandages in flesh color and have them more or less match my skin. Guys, you want to tell me that white privilege is not real? You want to sit there and tell me that? Well, I was just thinking the other day, did you guys hear about the Kim Kardashian scandal? The new one? About her nude shapewear, I forget what it's called. I'd look it up, but it would take forever. The nude shapewear that she has. And there's all kinds, like, there's a huge amount of, like, pale, what's the word? It goes from, like, porcelain to, like, a medium shade of brown. And then the African American model, who she had the darkest skin of all the models there. Guys, her shapewear was black. And I'm not talking like a dark brown or like a dark skin tone. It was just black. Like my hat right there. And I don't know if it was just overlooked. I don't know if it was just poor taste. I don't know if it was a mistake. But that last one, talking about blemish cover or like a makeup foundation, I've seen that too in stores. Like on the like 2 days a year that I wear makeup, when I go and look at makeup, it's like there's like 75 billion different shades of like white to peach, and then there's like 4 or 5 or 6 different shades of brown, and it never gets past like a medium brown. Sometimes there's like a dark brown, but there's only one. And it's not even like a spectrum. Like it goes like spectrum of lighter colors, spectrum of medium colors, and then like dark. Like one dark. And it's just not something that people should have to worry about. Like I don't know how you would think that white privilege is not real. Like, maybe you hate it. I know that I do. I know that in my Soc 2 class, which is social problems, issues, things like that, having to do with, like, politics, social issues, cultural issues, all kinds of things like that. And the professor asked us, how many of you guys have been followed in a store? About 3 or 4 people raised their hands. None of them were white. How many of you guys have been stalked or harassed when you're walking down the street? A few more people raised their hands. A few more women raised their hands. But still the majority was not white. It just has me thinking, like, white people need to use their privilege to stand with people that don't have that same privilege. I see a lot of people at protests right now, myself included, and I'm trying to remind myself and remind other white people that are at these protests that you're there to support, you're there to uplift African American voices, you're not there to talk over them or talk for them, you're there to talk with them. Just be there. Don't be there and be taking selfies and be saying like, oh guys, like look at where I'm at, like I'm such a good person. Like, don't be patting yourself on the back. Being white and supporting Black Lives Matter does not mean that you're a good person. It doesn't even mean that you're like, congratulations, everything in poor taste that you've ever said is now erased. Like, it doesn't work like that. You're not there to make yourself a good person. You're there because you're a decent freaking human being that realizes that human rights should not be a controversial hot topic issue. Like, come on. It shouldn't. I'm getting off topic, but it shouldn't be. Basic human rights and being treated with respect by the people who are supposed to be protecting you, that's not controversial. Like, stop shooting innocent people. Stop shooting innocent, unarmed people. I don't see why that's such a radical statement, like, but you know. So yeah, guys. I know the bulk of this video was me just reading off that list, but I feel like that list does a really great job of just kind of giving you a glimpse. Like, again, that 46 bullet list, that was just a small amount. Like, imagine living that. Like, I was out of breath. I was, like, having to take a pause. Like, whew. How do people expect people to live like that? Like, I was out of breath just reading the list. Like, imagine living that. Imagine, I know I talk about being a parent a lot, I'm sorry, but I was just telling my fiance the other day, I was like, imagine being a black mom with a black child and seeing that stuff on the news and thinking, oh my god, that could have very well been my husband, that could have very well been my brother, could have very well been my child. I can't even imagine. That's not ever something that I'm gonna have to deal with. But that's reality for a lot of these people. That's not something that someone should have to think about. I don't know, man. Just white privilege freaking sucks, but it's a real thing. Don't deny it, acknowledge it, and use it for something good. Alright guys, that's all I've got. Next video will probably be positive. Might do something for Pride Month. I know it's June 2nd, but what's going on right now is not sidestepped by Pride Month. Pride Month is important, but so are Black Lives. And Black Lives is not a trend on Twitter. It is something that is important. It is not something to hashtag for 2 days and then get over. It is real. Racism is rampant. It's not getting worse. It's just being brought to light and called out. Times are going to be changing. And a lot of things are going to have to happen in order for things to change. But apparently, we're willing to make that happen. So anyways, I will see you guys next time. Probably talking about something Pride related. So I'm just gonna leave this. I'm really bad at ending videos. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna leave this with use your privilege for good because it's real. It's real. You can't deny it. It's real. Use it for good. Okay.